Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to make the adorable Stitch character. I'm using Saracino modelling paste. If you've seen some of my videos before, you know this is my favourite paste to model with. So to get this lovely blue colour, I've used Sugar Flare Aztec Blue. To form his body, I'm starting with a pear shape, and then just shaping in the bend of the back, keeping his bottom nice and round. So I've got an extra little piece here, and this will form his tail. So just popping that into place, I'm now going to blend that into the body using the Dresden tool, and then just smoothing it over with my fingers. So just to eliminate any creases, I'm using the silicone tool just to make that a little bit smoother. So I've rolled a thick sausage for his legs, just going to check that it's a good size, and then cutting it down the middle, making two legs out of that one sausage. So now just forming a little bit of a shape at the bottom of the leg to shape in the foot. So I'm using my fingers and the Dresden tool to help me do that. And now I'm just bending it to form the knee shape. To make sure it sits nice and close to the body, I'm just cutting a section from the top. So I'm just using the knife at an angle to take that section off. And now when I press it to the body, it's going to sit nice and neatly. I'm not going to have to press it and push it too much, which of course makes it look a little bit untidy if you need to do that. I'm using a cocktail stick for a bit of support, so I'm just pressing it into the body and using a bit of water, and that will allow it to hold the leg in place, and then using a bit more water to soften that paste over those joints so that I can grab it with the Dresden tool and blend it together. So with just a little bit of water, this blends together really well. You don't need any glue or anything. In fact, glue is just going to make the whole situation sticky, and it's not going to do you any favours. So a bit of water and the Dresden tool to blend it together, and then smoothing it neatly with the other end of the Dresden tool. And of course I'll use my finger just to smooth that a little bit more. I'm using this piece of sponge throughout the whole of the tutorial because Stitch will not be standing upright. His legs are slightly bent, and I'm going to need to support this model for the whole of the process. However, the aim is that he will be able to stand on his own once the model is complete. Just adding a bit more shape to the feet now, so creating his toes using the Dresden tool, and then just creating a space for his little nails to sit in later. I've coloured this modelling paste with Saracino blue gel colour, so this is going to create the patch on the front of his body. So just pressing a ball of paste into the mat and then rolling it lengthways to create that oval shape for the front. And then once that's the right shape, I'm just going to place that onto the body using a little bit of water to allow it to stick. And now just gently smoothing that on. You don't need to mess about too much, you don't want to distort the shape. So to make his arms, I'm rolling a sausage shape again. This time it's a little bit thinner than the sausage that I used for the legs. So I'm just narrowing down the end, which will be the shoulder, and then forming an elbow. To make the hand, I'm just going to roll at the other end of the sausage. So quite close to the end, I don't want the hand to be too big. And then just flattening out that section. So I'm taking a piece away from the shoulder. So this will allow it to sit a little bit more closely to the body. And now to cut the fingers, just making 2-3 cuts and then rolling each finger so that it's nice and rounded and there's no sharp edges. So I'm using the silicone tool to make some spaces for the nails to sit in later. So I'm just going to get these arms in place now, just using a little bit of water, only enough to make the paste tacky, and then just pressing those arms in place. So I'm not going to use supports because the arms are going to sit against his body, so there's no need for the extra support. But I am going to blend this paste in now, and this will help keep the arms in place and it will eliminate the join. I'm making Stitch's favourite toy now, and he'll hold this toy in his arms. So I've coloured the paste with gooseberry sugar flare paste colour, and then just rolling a thin sausage and cutting 4 pieces. I'm just softening the ends of each piece, and then I'll use the Dresden tool just to press in a couple of little lines, and these will resemble the arms and the legs of the toy. I'm using a little bit of water just so I can attach all these in place now. Moving on to the head, I'm just going to score in the shape of the mouth. And I'll pop that into place before I start decorating the head. The eyes resemble buttons, so this blue one is going to have 4 little holes like a regular button, and this black one, just press it into place and I'm just going to put a cross on the surface. So I'm making the stitching effect on the mouth from some very thin black paste. So I've rolled it very thin between my hands and just pop it into that space that I formed earlier with the Dresden tool, and then just cut in some tiny sections and placing those across the length of the mouth. I'm making the hair from orange modelling paste, so just rolling out the individual strands and then grabbing them together and trimming the end neatly, and then just making a little pink bow. So I'll pop them into place now, using a bit of water to glue them in place. And the strands are a little bit long, so I'm just going to trim them down and then just soften each end a little bit. So moving on to Stitch's head now, starting with a ball of paste in the same colour as the main body. So I've measured it first just to make sure it's in good proportion, and I've already inserted a cocktail stick into the body. So just forming the shape of the mouth now, I'm using the mini palette knife to get a nice wide mouth, and then I'm inserting that knife in and teasing the mouth open. So I can just tease it a little bit more now using my fingers. Now to make the inside of the mouth, I've used red extra to colour some paste, and I've added a little bit of blue into that paste as well, just to give a slightly darker, deeper red. So just flattening out that piece and inserting it into the mouth and using the Dresden tool to press it into place, and then any excess paste that's coming out of the mouth, I'll use the craft knife to trim that away. I'm using the lighter blue now, just gonna create a strip and attach that to the bottom part of the face. So I'm creating his tongue with just some red paste. So cutting out half a circle, creating a little line for the centre of his tongue, and then just popping it into place. Now for the teeth, I've coloured a little bit of white paste with a tiny touch of ivory paste colour, just so you've got an off-white colour there. And then just forming these tiny little pieces for the teeth and using the cocktail stick to attach them into place. Once they're in the mouth, you can then use the cocktail stick to reshape them, or maybe even use the craft knife to trim them down a little bit if they need that. And of course the Dresden tool is used so I can press them into the mouth and make sure they're nice and secure. His eyes are a teardrop shape. I don't have a cutter that's exactly the right shape, so I've cut a circle, and then I'm just going to shape each circle into a teardrop shape. So I'm using a smaller circle shape to cut the pupils, and again I will model these into a teardrop shape and place them in the center of the blue, and then create a tiny little piece of white, so a little ball of white, and attach that onto the black section. So I'm going to make his nose now. So I'm using that darker blue that I used for the body, and I've added some black colour into it to get a really deep shade of blue. Shaped it into a soft triangle shape, and then just using the Dresden just to create some nostrils. And I'll just pop the eyes into place now. So I'm just brushing the cocktail stick with a tiny bit of water, and then just feeding the head over the stick and popping it into position. I'll just give him some nails now. So I've rolled some small pieces of the black paste, and then I'll just pop these tiny pieces into those holes that I created earlier for his nails. And I'll do the same for his hands. I'm making 3 little spikes for the top of his head, just joining those together, and I'll pop those into place using a little bit of water. Now to finish him off now, I'm making his ears. So I've rolled out some oval pieces of paste, and then with that same like aubergine red colour that I used inside the mouth, I'm creating the inside of his ears. So I'm just forming these into the correct shape, and then I'm cutting a tiny little piece out of each ear. And these will need supporting, so I've used a cocktail stick and just very carefully feeding that in between the 2 colours of the paste, and then I'll just insert it into the head using water so that it will glue into place, and then using the Dresden tool to neaten the join for each of the ears. Now the best way to secure this model onto the top of a cake is to very carefully insert a cocktail stick into the bottom of each foot, and then allow at least a couple of inches so that you can insert that into the cake. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Please remember to subscribe to my channel where you can see more tutorials like this.